back on Get Up, and on this very busy day, there's a lot of football out there with OTAs starting all over the place. So Tim Hasselbeck, let's do some QB quick reads. You think Caleb Williams can take this Bears team to the playoffs as a rookie?
Well, I understand the question because it's not a typical situation. Number one overall pick goes to a team that's probably better equipped to compete. That being said, I think you just look at the division, it's too tough. So my answer is no. Well, Green Bay is going to be really good. Detroit's going to be really good. And I think because of the challenges in that division, I think that's ultimately what keeps Chicago out of the playoffs.
Certainly won't be easy. And you don't mention Minnesota, but they may also be good if their rookie quarterback plays well. So let's go to them next. Do you think J.J. McCarthy should be their starter right off the bat?
I do. And listen, I've been, kind of saying this for a while in terms of you get better by playing. And if you're worried about playing a guy too early because it's going to ruin him, then you probably didn't draft the right guy. So I think I look at the situation in Minnesota, and then I look at the type of prospect McCarthy is, which is a guy that played at a big program that's been well coached. He's more of a ready-made prospect than somebody that needs to develop. And so I think when you look at it through that lens, it just makes the most sense to put him in there right away and let him learn on the job.
It's an interesting one. Let's come back to that one another day because I'd like to talk more about it. But let's go then to this one. He's most certainly not a rookie. Do you think Russell Wilson should be the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh week 1?
If you're going to have both Justin Fields and Russell Wilson on the roster, then I think that Russell Wilson needs to be your starter week 1. I don't see an environment where Russell Wilson is the backup and it's good for your football team with Justin Fields as a starter. Both quarterbacks there, and I think it's important for people to remember this. Both guys are there playing for their next contract. Yeah, they're playing for the Steelers, but they're really playing for their next contract. And I think that dynamic is going to be fascinating. That's why I think Russ, if he's on the roster with Fields, needs to be the starter.
Okay, now that is really interesting. That is the first time anyone has said that on this show, and it's the first time I've thought about it that way. I may be changing on the fly where we're going to go here because I think that is an interesting place to go. Understanding team dynamics, Domonique, as you do, I think what Tim is saying makes sense, which is to say Russell Wilson as the starter and Justin Fields as the backup, nipping at his heels, trying to get out there. That makes sense. Justin Fields winning that job outright, and Russell Wilson at this stage of his life and career being the backup from the moment the season starts. I hadn't really thought of it this way. That does not seem like a situation that is destined to work. What do you think of that thought, Neek?
Yeah, I think that this is one of those situations where there is no right answer, but I think part of what Tim's rationale is, at least I'm assuming a bit of this, is that one of these guys is going to start, and both of them might have some struggles. Going from Russell to Fields is a better position to be in than having Fields out there and having Fields struggle with Russell breathing down his neck. I think best case scenario is Justin Fields is your starter at some point because the ceiling is higher on a player that you could argue hasn't gotten a fair shot in the league and is on the ascent. No one's arguing that Russell Wilson is going to get better. We recognize that at this point in his career, he's at his he's on a decline. This is the backside of his career. And I think that's part of the expectation is at some point you're switching from one quarterback to the other, and you'd like to be switching to someone who you think can be your long-term answer, which I don't believe that anyone thinks Russell Wilson is at this point in his career.
Get in here, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by that dynamic and how it plays into the actual decision-making process. We're talking about the court of public opinion in some ways about how that sort of works out. Mike Tomlin does not feel like the type that would cave, but when you do lay out each possible scenario, it does feel like the best of, 3 scenarios is the idea that Russell Wilson starts week 1, struggles, and then Justin Fields replace him as a star. I guess the best scenario for the Steelers is Russell Wilson starting week 1 and starting week 18 and leading them into the playoffs. And then, of course, the third, which we mentioned, would be the idea of Justin Fields starting the season. That does not feel, to Tim's point, like the best option.
Tim, I'm fascinated by this, and you understand the dynamics of this, having been in those quarterback rooms for as long as you have. Look, I give Russell Wilson all the credit in the world. He's become someone that it's somewhat fashionable to take shots at. But frankly, he could have walked away from the NFL and still gotten paid every bit as much this year as he is getting paid to play. So he clearly wants to be out there. He's playing because he loves playing and wants to play. Give him all the credit in the world. That said, it's tough for me to envision a scenario where he is happy, satisfied, or fulfilled being the backup quarterback to Justin Fields in Pittsburgh right now. That feels like a long way to try and go, Tim.
Listen, and Greeny, that's why my posture on the Russell Wilson situation was, look, I'm not sure he was playing football this year. Because I forget the number now. We're almost numb to it. $50 million or something like that he was going to get paid whether he was sitting at home or playing football. And so the fact that he's, playing for league minimum for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we can put playing in quotations if Justin Fields is the starting quarterback. Look, $1 million is a fine salary for a lot of people, but not for a guy, that's made, well over $200 million playing the game of football like Russell Wilson has. So, that's the part of it. Yes, he deserves a lot of credit. There's a huge risk in this for Russell to do what he's done. And so with that, if he is not the guy, I mean, I don't know how you respond and overcome from that. And yeah, that can affect your football team.
Yeah. Domonique, a final word?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best case scenario is eventually Justin Fields takes over because we recognize that the ceiling is higher on that team. If his athleticism combined with the playmakers they have can match up well with that talented defense, then they could make a run in the AFC. I don't see a scenario where Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback and they make a run in the AFC against the quarterbacks that they have to face. And I understand the ceiling is a lot higher for Justin Fields, but the floor is a lot lower for him also. So it's a risk that they have to take, and it's a hard decision to make, I would think, going into this season.